There is no good time to start. Like we tell our clients, our members, our leads, our prospects, there is no good time to start. There will never be an ideal time to start. I think Johnny Depp says this. If you fall in love with two people, pick the second, because you wouldn't have fallen in love with the second one if you didn't love the first one enough. The same thing with work. If you are feeling like you are in love or you're split between two things, pick the second one, because you wouldn't have thought about the second one if you were like loving the first one so much. Fit body was my second thing that worked. So I picked fit body because I wouldn't have thought about fit body if I loved my work so much, right? If you feel the same way, go for it. There is a true calling hiding somewhere.
Welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast.
Hey friends, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Fitness CEO Podcast, a show dedicated for high performers to teach you to lead so that way you can 10x your income, your impact, and your legacy. My name is Bryce Henson. If you're new to the show, I'm your Fitness CEO, and I'm with my dear friend Vik, who I just gave an awesome intro. Vik, my friend, welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast.
How you doing, Bryce?
Doing fantastic.
Excited to be here.
Me too, a long time coming, and yeah, we're gonna dig in. So I know I just hit this in the intro, but you are extremely successful franchise partner on the East Coast. You've been in the brand for a few years at this point, and excited just to unpack your experience. So my first question really want to go is, what made you get into the fitness space, the gym space, the entrepreneurial space? But I think there's probably a backstory behind that. And just, being friends with you for a few years, I know you have an incredible story, being, I believe, born in India, growing up in Africa. So if you can just share with the audience a little bit of backstory, how you got here.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, I was born in India, but my dad, coming from a very modest background, had made up his mind that he's going to work internationally. And he got an opportunity in Nigeria. So I was 9 months old, and we packed bags, and I went to Nigeria, and then grew up in Nigeria, went to school in Nigeria. Luckily, there was a school that had Indian education in Nigeria, but until that happened, for the first 1 or 2 years, I was in the local school. I didn't even know the local language. And man, I don't know if bully is the right word, but they literally amongst all the Africans, there's an Indian sitting.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of teasing and everything that happened. I remember that. And, then I went to school to the Indian school in Nigeria. And then from there, there was no further education after 10th grade at that, 1994 or something. So my parents decided that I ship me back to India, where I can do my, 11th, 12th, and then further. So one thing, very typical in Indian families is there's a movie called Three Idiots. It's very
Indian film?
It's an Indian film, a Bollywood movie, and very famous. But that movie really, shows what Indian parents think when, kids are born. Even before the baby's out, the profession is decided. It's going to be a doctor, it's going to be a lawyer, it's going to be an engineer. So I was supposed to be an engineer even before I was born. And all my life I was told, engineering is your thing, engineering is your thing, engineering is your thing.
Picked by your parents, your dad?
My dad is into finance, my mom. My mom really told me that, and my dad, he's a pretty neutral guy, chilled out guy, so he's like, yeah, fine, engineering, that's fine. And they're looking out for you. Being in middle class, you want to get a stable income. That's their mindset, because he was, he worked 9 to 5. That was his thing, and my mom was a housewife. So what they do is, when my kids grow up, they got to continue getting that job and have a stable income, all that kind of stuff. And engineering was something that they decided for me. And they literally decided that for me, because I was not thinking at that time what I wanted to do. And I was good in math in school, so that even motivated them, encouraged them a little bit more. Well, he's good in math, so probably he's born to be an engineer, right?
It's a sign.
It's a sign. So I decided to pursue engineering, because that's what, all your life somebody tells you that. So I did engineering, and then the herd mentality at that time in 98, 99, everyone who did engineering was coming to US. Because
and at this point, you had just finished in Nigeria. You're back in India.
Yeah, I was back in India
Okay.
by 94, 95,
Yep.
where I did a little bit of 11th grade, 12th grade. In India, they call it junior college.
Okay.
So I did my 11th and 12th focusing on science, and then you do your bachelor's. So I did my engineering from 96 to 2000.
Okay.
And then right around that time, the dot-com industry was like booming like crazy. So everyone was coming to the US. My sister was in the US, and she's in a different profession. She's a speech therapist, but she was here. So my parents said, you know what, you pack your bags and you got to go to US. Herd mentality, followed everyone to US, didn't know what I was doing at that time, and got my master's in science in electrical engineering. Again, there's no fitness so far, so.
That's incredible. So you got your master's here in the States?
I got my master's here in 2002 is when I graduated, and we all know what happened in 2001, 2002, the dot-com bubble burst.
Yep.
You know, I was actually working to get a job in the dot-com industry or in e-commerce and in the networking field. Again, very heavy tech, background in engineering, no fitness whatsoever so far. And the market, you know, burst, and I was without a job. I graduated, and there was no job in the market. So I was sitting home, and luckily my sister knew someone. She was working for an organization as a contractor, and I landed up getting a job as a IT person in that company. You know, what are you? I think in 2002, it's like, what are you, 21, 22, 40, 50K coming in. You're not paying rent, you know. I'm living with my sister. So I'm like, that's a lot of money. And I got comfortable, very comfortable with that. And, you know, I was just waking up in the morning, going to the job, coming back, living the regular life, nothing exciting. And then I got married. And that's when actually my fitness journey started.
By the way, just quick timeout. RT, I know you dearly from Vik here, speaking, got married, and you are a rock star. You are so awesome. There's a famous saying, behind an incredible man, there's a rock star woman, and RT, you are that. So that all said, I want to acknowledge that. Continue on, my friend.
Thank you so much. She is. So I agree with you on that. Yeah, so RT and I were dating since 1999, and I was already here, so we had a long distance relationship. And then she came because, again, the herd mentality, and also I was here. She also wanted to pursue additional, you know, further education. So she came here. And then we decided to get married in 2004. And, you know, when you're getting married, you want to look good on the stage. You know how Indian weddings are, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I want to get jacked. And that's when my fitness journey actually started.
That was the idea. You wanted to get in good shape for the Masters.
Exactly, for that big grand celebration.
Was it a 3-day wedding, as I've been to?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Like 100%. 3-day wedding. Okay. Yeah, 1,000 people.
Elephant? Did you arrive on an elephant?
No, they had a horse.
Okay. Well, I say this, one of my dear friends, Kunal, if you're watching this, he grew up in the East Coast. And, him and his wife, they got carried in on elephants. It was a magical experience.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I was on a horse, so they call it the Bharat. So I was on the horse. But yeah, so I went to the gym, no experience, no knowledge. And
so at this point, like, fitness was not part of your life?
Nothing. I was not even an athlete. I was not into sports. I mean, I played recreational basketball. That's it. I did a little bit of martial arts, and I backed out of that just because it was too hard in school. Because my coach used to make me do push-ups on my knuckles on cement. And I'm like, this is too much. I mean, I can't do that. So yeah, there was no fitness at all in my life until then.
That was the spark.
That was it, yeah. And I started going to the gym at that time, and again, pretty young, so you know, you're kind of chugging down protein shakes, not doing a lot of research, you know, getting creatine in your body and all that. And I was messing up my system like crazy, and I was not seeing the results. I gained like 10 pounds. I didn't even know if it was fat or it was muscle, I don't know, but I gained 10 pounds in about 6 months, eating a lot, drinking a lot of protein shakes. And then I went to India for my wedding. And then it was about a 1 month, you know, stay in India. And when I came back, I lost all the 10 pounds. And my friend told me, what happened to you? You look sick. And he came to pick me up at the airport. And I'm like, no, nothing's wrong. And he's like, dude, you were jacked when you went, and you're not when you came back. What happened? And that's when I realized that this is not a start and stop. This is continuous improvement. This is something you gotta do for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when my research into fitness started. I'm like, I gotta keep going to the gym because I felt good the way I was.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta keep going to the gym. But again, the results were not showing up. when you're starting off, you don't hire a trainer, you don't hire a coach. You think you can do it all, right? A very common mistake. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I kept working out for 4, 5, 6 years. And of course, I was doing my job. And then in 2007, something happened. I got bored in life. I'm like, let me pursue an MBA. Because of the herd mentality, everyone else was doing an MBA. Everyone who was an engineer was now getting into finance. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do MBA in finance. And I applied and I got into MBA school. Entrepreneurship was something that was always close to my heart because I was surrounded by people who did a 9-to-5 job and very few entrepreneurs. But they stood out in the crowd. They really stood out in the crowd. And that's something that I was really fascinated by. So I'm like, I would like to do something in entrepreneurship. So I always had those crazy ideas. You're sitting down with friends and you're drinking beer and having a few drinks, and suddenly an idea pops up in your head. I'm like, dude, there's nothing in the market to do that. And you have a 2-hour conversation, and then next day, nothing happens. But those ideas were pretty good. Like one of them was, what Grubhub is right now. In 2005, 2006, I was thinking there is no service that can just deliver any restaurant food to my house. Right now, I feel like eating Vincent's, a very good Italian restaurant in Long Island. But no one's gonna deliver it. I have to go and pick it up. What if there was a service for that? So I remember these conversations. Same thing, I don't know if you know the model of gym guys. Do you know gym guys?
No.
So gym guys, they have a truck. They bring the gym to your house. And there is no excuse of equipment, right? And so I had that idea. What if we take the gym to someone's house? They got no excuse. They have to work out. I've been working out at this time, so I've been seeing the benefits of that. And I'm like, there is no industry for that. So why don't we do that? Why don't we start something with that? Now, again, gym guys, matter of coincidence, their headquarters is Long Island where I lived. So I think somebody was listening to my conversation and they picked up on that idea. But execution was pretty bad, right? You think about it, good ideas, but never executed. So anyways, went back to MBA because I wanted to do a little bit of entrepreneurship. So my major was finance, and you were allowed to pick another minor as such. So I did small business entrepreneurship over there. And when I graduated in 2010 or 2010, we all know what happened then. Real estate bubble burst.
Great recession.
Big one. And there were people who had done finance from MBA from Wharton, Harvard. They were on the streets. And there was no chance that I was going to get a job in the finance world. We bought a house at that time. Our first one was on the way, the kid, and I got laid off. So it was a tough time at that point. And one of my friends told me that, you've been some guy who's been into fitness for a while. You know a lot of stuff. Anytime there is a social gathering, people come and ask you questions. Don't you think you want to get certified? If you're sitting at home right now, just get certified in fitness. Maybe that's something that you can think about. And that's when I started researching NASM, CPT. I got my certification in 2010. While in MBA, I started a small consulting company to help small businesses, but that tanked badly. Again, great vision, zero execution. That tanked badly. So for 3 months with a mortgage, with a kid, no income coming in, even though I have a training certification, no income coming in. So I had to get another job, and I got a job in healthcare IT, and the consulting company folded in about a year, and the training was on the side. Like 1 or 2 personal training clients.
Just kind of like a passion project.
Yeah, like just a side project, Saturday morning, 8 to 10 kind of stuff, right? And I started doing that. That's when I realized that I think I can train people. I think I can coach people. I can walk them through the different phases of going from, not doing anything, sitting on the couch, to starting off with fitness. Because I was a victim of that initially. I jumped right into it and didn't see results. So I wanted to condense that time frame for others and say, guys, don't do that. There are steps. You got to take a step ladder approach over here. Nutrition is important, all of that. And I started, I did P90X and those kind of things, at home workouts, Tony Horton, beachbody.com and all that kind of stuff. And then I started doing my, job with fitness on the side. I ran boot camps in parks in New Jersey. That's where I was. I did that and really undervalued my service at that time. $10 a class, just show up. But that's where I got exposure to training groups. coaching groups. Again, passion project, nothing to make a living out of. And then somehow along the journey of, about around more 5-6 years, again, no movement in life, got bored. And our second one was on the way, living the regular life, 9 to 5, 1.5 hour commute to work, and rushing from work to pick up the kids from daycare, weekend socializing, getting comfortable again. Mm-hmm. In 2017, we decided to move to Massachusetts from Jersey because I'm like, I need to climb up the ladder in the corporate world. HQ, the headquarters for the company that I was working for, the healthcare IT company, was based in Westboro, Massachusetts.
So that's why you went.
That's where we moved to climb up the ladder. And my wife, being a great partner, she wrapped up an amazing career in Siemens. She was, she's a doctor, she's a PhD. So she wrapped up an amazing career in Siemens just to follow along,
support
be with me. Yeah, support me. We had a plan. She was going to start a consulting company of her own in her field of expertise. Mm-hmm. And that didn't go anywhere for about 2-3 months. And then she landed up getting a job in Massachusetts as well. She worked for different organizations in research and Sanofi and those kind of big names. Mm-hmm. And when I moved here, when I moved to Westboro, Massachusetts, I had a nice social circle of friends. And that's the reason why we moved, because their kids were the same age as our kids, mm-hmm. which helps a lot with the support system, big time.
Community.
Of course, exactly. That's what we are all about. Fit body right there, right? So we made a decision to move, and we moved, and it was a very smooth move, I would say, in terms of moving states after being settled for 8 years in Jersey, moving with kids. Our younger one was like 9 months old. The second one was 9 months old at that time. And my friends said, well, now that you're here, you're going to coach us. I had not even thought about it at that time. And they, kind of hired me as their trainer.
From a fitness perspective.
From a fitness perspective. And I was training them, I was coaching them, and that grew from friends to friends to friends, from friends of friends, family of friends and friends of, and it just grew. Like mm-hmm. at one point I was training one-on-one 15 people at this, and that grew.
Still, while you're focused climbing up the corporate ladder, this is a passion project.
This is just passion project. Weeknights 6 to 8, weekends 6 to 11 in the morning, and gained a lot of experience in that. But it was just one-on-one training. It was not group training. And that's when I thought that I think I can make a bigger impact by doing group training. And very funny thing happened. I was at that time looking into entrepreneurship, looking into fitness. But when you're looking into entrepreneurship, the imposter syndrome kicks in, mm-hmm. because classic misfit, right? Mm-hmm. MBA, Masters in Engineering, Indian, no athlete, no sports background, no service background, nothing in the military. How can I open a gym?
This is your thought.
This is my thought.
And it's interesting, Vik, I want to interject here. You're so credentialed on so many things in this particular moment in time.
Yeah.
You've lived across the world. You've lived in Africa, went back to India, had a master's degree in the States.
Yes.
Had a family, met a beautiful wife, had 2 kids, climbing yourself up the corporate ladder. So you had all these things going for you.
Yeah.
But to your point, on the fitness side, from a proper entrepreneurship perspective, you hadn't executed that yet, so you felt imposter syndrome.
Exactly. I mean, if you put my profile on LinkedIn, nobody's going to guess that this guy's going to open a gym.
Right.
Right? They're going to think he's going to open like some software company or something of that stuff, right? Something along that line. So that big imposter syndrome was in me. I don't think so I can be in fitness.
And I want to drill into that because that's just very common. I hear this we hear this all the time as well. And it's interesting, sometimes the most qualified people in one area can still feel like an imposter in another area. And that's the message that I want to really drill from your story.
And a very limiting belief, because not only fitness, but entrepreneurship overall, even though I was attracted towards it, I didn't feel that I could be an entrepreneur because the herd mentality, get a job, get a stable job, climb up the corporate ladder, get a nice high, that's how you get bonus and a high paid job. You just work hard, And again, parents also, again, all respect, all love for them, but that's what my dad's done.
Yeah.
And I grew up seeing him do that. All my friends, most of my friends, they got a job, so you follow along. And so entrepreneurship and fitness was not something that was on the top of my to-do thing or something that I was gravitating towards.
Yep.
Entrepreneurship was, and that's what happened. In a very funny incident in 2017, I was dancing in a bar, and I slipped on ice and I tore my ACL right there. Yeah, I was not drunk. I can tell you that. Yeah. We were a group of people. Again, the same people that my friends. And we were at a bar, and I was just dancing, and somebody might have dropped some ice on the floor, and not knowing that there was ice, I just slipped, and the angle was really bad.
Okay.
And I tore my ACL.
Oof.
So I had to get surgery done. But those 2 weeks post surgery, I was sitting on the bed, and I'm like, I gotta do something with my life. This is not going anywhere. I started researching.
What were you feeling at that point? Were you feeling
I was feeling very. I don't know what the right emotion is, but I was feeling like, my face was against the wall. Yeah. I mean, I can't move further. I felt like I was not heading anywhere. I was feeling lost. There was a lot of anger and frustration.
Even though on the outside, I mean, I'm listening to your story from the outside.
Yeah.
It looks like you have on a good path.
Everything
right?
is going good, right?
Yeah,
2 kids, beautiful wife,
Yeah.
amazing house, 2 cars, living the life. Yeah.
But inside, you're feeling a different way.
Yeah, a different vacuum. Like there was a vacuum somewhere, and that used to come out once in a while in terms of anger, in terms of frustration, not knowing that was the emotion sitting inside me. It happened a lot, and how much ever you say you love your job, but if you're thinking, what are you doing with your life? Mm-hmm. You don't love the job.
Right.
There's something else that you want. There's a calling for you.
Totally.
And that's what happened to me in those 2 weeks, like kind of an epiphany moment. And I'm like, let me try getting into franchising, because maybe that's the best transition that I can do. And I started reading a lot of articles online. And one of the things that they said was, if you want a franchise business, you can be an owner, not present. And at that time, when you're not thinking about jumping all in, you're thinking about, let me keep my job, let me open up something on the side and be an owner, not present kind of setup, right? Yep. So I started researching that, and 2 things that stood out. One was Code Ninja, which was coding for kids, and the other one was F45. And based on the budget and everything, I spoke to them a lot. Based on the budget, Code Ninja was something that I decided to do. I went to sign over the dotted line, and the guy just tells me over there, Vik, I'm sorry, but that territory is taken. Somebody signed yesterday. I was pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was pissed crazy. So what was next? F45. So F45 had a high price tag, and I told Aarti, that's a pretty high price tag that we're going to pay, but let's do it. And then guess what? Same thing happened. The territory got sold. Exact same thing. Ooh. The day I decided to call them and said, send me the paperwork, the territory was sold. So I was very upset and, of course, angry, frustrated that I was too late to move. But Aarti, to the rescue, she's like, what's happened, but do you realize that you are looking at the right opportunities? If somebody else is doing that, somebody else somewhere is thinking about opening up the same thing that you are looking to open up, there might be something that is right in what you're thinking. So don't delay it the next time. Maybe let's, success like speed. So let's speed up the process of making the decision. And then I was still looking at different things. Being an Indian, I looked at something that's safe. And this is really funny. I was looking at fitness on one side, opening up a fitness franchise. And on the other side, I was looking up and opening up a Dunkin' Donuts or a Honeydew. It's a tried and tested model. There's one in every street. Yeah. People are always coming in there.
It's true.
And at that time, again, the imposter syndrome, right? A lot of Indians own Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can be one of the many. And it's a tried and tested franchise. Mm-hmm. Why don't I invest into that? And one of my friends, myself, and a couple of people, we were looking at Dunkin' Donuts and Honeydews that were for sale. And in the side, Fit Body Bootcamp popped up. And I'm like, I've not heard about Fit Body Bootcamp until then. And then I think there were 3 locations or 4 locations in Massachusetts at that time. I started making calls, Hervey and everyone, and I spoke to them. And of course, I think I spoke to Barrett too. I remember my research that I was doing. And I was at a decision-making point, Honeydew or Fit Body Bootcamp. And Aarti again to the rescue, and she tells me that both are gonna both are gonna require to wake up at 4 a.m. What are you gonna be excited for?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Do you wanna sell donuts and coffee, or do you wanna coach people?
Oh, I'm gonna interject. That is the power question, because
Yeah.
the bell comes early, and the bell is gonna come early no matter which way.
That's right.
And it's all fun and games when you're planning, you're excited, but then once you enter something, and this is just human nature, the newness wears off.
Exactly.
So you need something that's gonna sustain that fuel. That's
ground
an
you.
incredible question that she asked you.
Yeah.
Which obviously led you to a good path.
That was the moment that I'm like, I'm not gonna wake up at 4 to sell donuts and coffee, which is on the other side of spectrum of fitness, right?
Yeah.
So, that's when I zeroed in on Fit Body Bootcamp. And 2019, Thanksgiving is when we decided. On the Wednesday, the Thanksgiving Eve, and Friday is when I signed everything.
dotted line.
Yeah, that's how I got into franchising, Fit Body Bootcamp, fitness, entrepreneurship.
That is unbelievable.
Crazy story, yeah.
That is unbelievable,
Yeah.
but so valuable. And obviously your story is very unique, but there's some commonalities that many of our audience listening here
Absolutely.
can kind of latch onto.
Yeah.
My initial question, which you kind of guided, but if you can provide some reinforcement, was just your wife, Aarti. What was her approach and support? Because it's a big thing, right?
Huge.
When you're in corporate America and working that way, to all of a sudden do a left turn, that's a big thing. So what were those conversations like? And
Absolutely.
what was that support there? And what were the concerns, which there's concerns in everything that were brought up. And I just want to
100%.
talk those out so our audience can have a good understanding of the real conversations behind the scenes.
Absolutely. I mean, there were many evenings, many days that we spoke about this thing. Now, Aarti is very career oriented. She comes from a business background. Her dad, has a pretty big business. He had a pretty big empire back in India.
So she has business background because of her family, but also went the PhD track. So she has
Oh,
the
yeah.
business and the science.
So now she's all science research, and she loves research. She's not taken a disc profile, but I can probably bet a blank check she's an owl.
High owl.
A high owl. Okay, and she loves research. She loves things step by step. She analyzes things pretty well. When she graduated with her doctorate, she got an opportunity in Chicago with Siemens. And I am in Long Island, New York at that time. I'm doing my job, a regular 9-to-5 job. It's funny, I was at a poker night with friends, and she tells me I got a job from Chicago I got a job at Siemens in Chicago. So I just I congratulated her and everything, with the assumption she's not gonna go. She tells me I said yes. I'm like, oh, okay. Now this is Aarti, right? Because she's very career oriented. We are married at that time. I'm talking about 2008. And we have...
Because you got married in 2004, so this is your about...
Yeah,
going
and
on
we were
5 years
dating
in.
5 years before that. So we have been together 9 to 10 years now.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm gonna go. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's awesome. And I always supported whatever she wanted to do. But then after that, it occurred to me, what's gonna happen to me, right? She's gonna be there. When you are at a new job, you're excited. And she worked 12 to 14 hours. She's like, I'm just gonna go there to work. But I'm already working, and I didn't know what to do when I came back home. And that's exactly when I decided to do the MBA. I'm like, I gotta keep myself busy.
Oh, like fill the void.
Yeah. So coming back to Aarti's background, she went to Chicago, and then I decided not to move to Chicago. First of all, it's too cold. It's a great city, nothing against that, but it's too cold. And I was in New York. I was working in the city, big friend circle. My sister is in New York. And I'm like, we got a good base over here. And I was not very comfortable getting into stepping out of the comfort zone at that point. And it just made sense for me to say that, you know what, Aarti, come back. She did that. In 2 years, she came back. And she, of course, she's like, I'm not moving until I have a job in New York. So she got a job in New York with Siemens. And that's when she moved back. And then in 2017, I'm telling her, I'm bored in life. I got to pack our bags and we're going to go to Westboro, Massachusetts. And she's like, all right, let's do it. I'm up for it. So what I'm trying to say is the support was very rock solid, because she always believed in what I wanted to do. And she always wanted to support me to, maybe climb up the ladder. And I also wanted to support her, but wanted to make sure that she's got a secure career, good future, because you don't want her to be frustrated or giving up on something that she's dreaming of, right? So we did try to make sure that she was secured when she moved to Massachusetts, but things didn't work out. So there were moments of frustration when she was looking for a job and she was not getting anything. But it was a matter of time. She's a smart woman. She landed up with a very great opportunity. And then came the entire entrepreneurship spin, right? And as I already previously mentioned, she was like the one who grounded me, who put reality into my whatever dream that I was confused, and she kind of grounded me, gave me the right direction. So that way her support was always there. But when we signed with FitBody Bootcamp, and she didn't ask questions at all, she just said, if this is what you want to do, just go for it. Just go for it. Don't think twice. We will figure things out.
What a blessing, man.
It was amazing. And I'm still doing a 9 to 5. And I'm saying I'm signing on a business that I'm going to open in 6 months where I have to be present. It's not an owner, not present job. It's I have to be present, which means I'm not going to be in the house. We got 2 kids. She's like, just go for it. Just do it. We will figure things out. And 2019, that's when she, we signed, and it was with all her support. And then there's a different story of when I decided to quit my job and get into FitBody full time.
Well, I want to go there. Before I do, I want to just talk a little bit about the transition period. So given the backstory, now 2019, Thanksgiving, you're going to go. As it turns out, if you're watching this, we know what happened about 5 months after November 2019. So I want to, Vik, from your perspective, as you just signed the dotted line, you're about to open your business. 4 months later, this thing called COVID, government restrictions. You live in a state that was very much regulated, just like I do in California.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
What was your thought? And as you're planning, to open your business, I can only imagine, right? So kind of talk me through that. And then after we get through that, I just want to transition into what was it like in the early days, and then we can finish up with as you transition completely out.
Yeah, I think when we signed in 2019, nobody. I wish people give you a crystal ball and say this is what is going to happen. Obviously, that doesn't happen in real life. Nobody anticipated COVID, and even when it happened, nobody anticipated the entire nation shutting down and all that. No one had anticipated that, right? So in 2019, very excited, pumped up, ready to, I started looking at the lease, and I started looking at, areas in and around. One thing that I was very sure about was I want to open up a location which is within a 5 to 10 minute driving distance of my home and where I worked. Yeah. Because I knew I was going to be working 60, 80 hours if I was going to do both. Travel time from one place to the other should not be too long. Yeah. So I had a good radius that I was looking around, and
which, by the way, I think is super important. And
absolutely.
When I started my first location in 2012, I did something very similar. Yeah. And if you can remove as much logistical, issue or bottleneck as possible, especially when you have a lot of things going when you launch a business, that's definitely the right approach. And I know it, led to your success.
Yes, 100%. Because and I had already come from a 1.5 hour commute to work, so I knew I was wasting 3 hours of my daily life, every single day. Doing nothing productive. What was I watching? I was watching shows on the train, or maybe reading a book is productive, but I was mainly watching shows at that point. And I knew one thing in that I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back to that. So I don't want to have a lot of travel time between my, I would say, hubs, right? Home, work, and gym. So I looked at places. And I was ready to sign a lease at an old Planet Fitness because they were breaking the Planet Fitness into smaller subsections because the Planet Fitness had moved across the road. So there was a huge space and they were giving out chunks of 3,000 square feet. I was going to sign that lease, and everything shut down at that time. This is right around Feb or March 2020. And that place was about 7 minutes from where I worked and about 12 minutes from where I lived. So I'm like, it was perfect. And Aarti and I were excited, and we were going to sign the lease, and the landlord just didn't respond. And I had a lawyer at that time, and the lawyer told me, Vik, I'm going to give you an advice for free. Take it. Don't think about opening a gym right now. Please take it. And I'm like...
When was this?
This was March of 2020.
So when everything's...
Yeah, because he was saying, do you know about the COVID thing happening?
So this is before the lockdowns happened.
Exactly.
Probably the first couple weeks, but things are...
Right around that time
Yeah,
when we are hearing, deaths and we are hearing about the gravity of the situation, again, nobody knew the shutdown was happening. Right? And
so your attorney gives you this advice.
Yes.
What's your response?
What do you think at that time? You're immature. You're just, jumping in. It's like, nothing's going to happen with COVID. I'm going to crush it. Don't worry about it. Go ahead and send them the paperwork. And luckily for me, I would say, the landlord just didn't respond. He didn't sign anything back. And the lawyer told me, this is a sign for you. Just don't go ahead with this. So again, Aarti and I had some, serious talks over there. And they're like, maybe it's not meant to be. And at that time, I don't know if you know about this, she's like, maybe Fit Body Bootcamp is not meant to be. And we had thoughts about backing out. That do we go ahead with it or not?
I'm glad you shared this because this is like real life.
It happens. I mean, COVID, everything is, and then in 2 weeks, everything shuts down. And Aarti is like, you are no one in the fitness world. Nobody knows about you. You don't fit that personality of, not the personality, but who opens a gym? There is a pattern for that.
Profile.
The profile.
You clearly have the personality.
Yeah.
I feel like
the profile is the right word. You're right.
And also too, the world's changing. There's so much things going on.
Yeah.
There's uncertainty. So.
The first thing to get impacted were restaurants and fitness business, right? And gyms. So it's like this is a sign maybe we were moving in the wrong direction. Something inside, I don't know what it was, something inside
you
said,
got heart, man. You got heart and passion.
I'm like,
I love about you.
I think I gotta do this. We will figure it out. And that's when I had a call with CJ. And man, you know how that guy is. And he's like, Vik, stop looking at the negative stuff. Think about how many people are gonna need to be in fitness, who wanna get fit, who might wanna bounce back from this slump. Just don't worry about the negative stuff and, focus on the positive. At that time, what happens is, you get fired up because you have heart and passion for this. So you get fired up. But somewhere in your head, that imposter syndrome, that guy is still saying, talks can get you so far. What is the reality of the situation? Please make sure you assess that. So I still had my doubts and I delayed my opening of the gym. Obviously, because I took that advice from the lawyer and I'm like, you know what? I don't think so I'll open in June or July, which is when I was supposed to open because, we have a 6-month time frame that we want to open the gym in. And I'm an Indian and I've told you I'm a Gujarati. So one thing is like, I'm not going to pay out of pocket my fees for owning a franchise. I'm going to do something different. And I'm like, why don't I start this online? Do something online, start Fit Body online. And then I was speaking at Fit Body HQ at that time, and we decided to kind of do everything online at that time. My lease is not even signed as yet. And I decided to transition online. Again, Aarti asks me the weird question, which made me think, which is, who knows you online? You've not built your profile. Nobody knows you on the online world as a trainer. And we were taking a walk, and I'm like, you're right. I don't know if this is going to be successful. But then after 5 minutes, I'm like, hold on. Family and friends know me, who I am. They know my fitness. I think they need this. They might need this. So why don't I start online classes without, opening up our location and see how that goes. So I opened that up in June. And
of 2020.
Of 2020, online.
Yep.
And I had 45 people signed up. 45 people signed up. And from day one, I was breaking even. And then Aarti and I were pretty happy about the way things went. Of course, I signed a lease, all of that happened. And I opened my location in October 2020. A lot of nerves at that point too, because now there is a lease, there is a rent that's gonna start ticking in October. And that's a big amount. When you're online, there's no rent. So whatever's coming in, you're kind of happy with that, right? But then we transitioned to the lease and the challenges, multiple anxiety attacks. I have to say that, multiple anxiety attacks. A lot of days when I'm drinking my whiskey and I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? The doubt, the self-doubt is a killer, but it's a very natural emotion for someone who's not been in that space ever.
How long do you think that lasted for?
A long time.
Yeah.
A pretty long time.
6, 12 months?
Yeah, I would say easily. If I have to be honest, it got subdued over a period of time, but it really took me 2.5, 3 years to get rid of that entire fear that I don't think so I can make it. And that's when I decided to move full time. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that right now, and actually that's kind of the highlight that I wanted to kind of anchor the conversation around. But I think, to your credit, Vik, there's just so much to the story. You jumping in, seeing the passion, but not having that experience, and then through a sequence of events, getting support from your wife, and then deciding to launch the business at the most craziest time ever.
Absolutely.
In our lifetime, with COVID and all the restrictions and whatnot. So there was a lot of things going on and a lot of layers of onion to unpeel there. But so I think that probably also, extended a little bit of the time of really releasing that fear.
Yes.
But you got
I think
it.
one thing, sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but I think one thing that was playing a big role is, so you always have the imposter syndrome and, you doubt yourself. But the people you surround yourself with is so important. And, you have their support and everything, but there is a big shift in your personality and mindset that needs to happen, which took some time for me personally.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because even for this particular podcast show, we've shifted a lot of the content to kind of talk about that shifts, because to your point about a personal growth mentality, because that's really the fabric of what entrepreneurship is all
100%.
about. So continue on.
I have a great set of friends. I love them to pieces, very close to my heart, and I would do anything for them. But everyone's in the corporate world, right? Not everyone is into entrepreneurship.
Which means sometimes you can probably feel on an island, you can't fully relate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and they all mean well. So a lot of them, when I shared with them that I'm opening up a gym in 2020, they came and asked me the question, "Are you serious?
Right.
Like, do you know what you're doing?"
Right.
I had, in that conversation where you're with them, you might be confident, but when you go home and you reflect on that conversation, you pick up things that they might have said that you might have not thought about, and then the fear kicks in, the anxiety kicks in. So that happened a lot.
Yeah.
That happened a lot, and I had to fight a lot of doubts in my head, a lot of demons in my head to continue with this, because something, like I said, something in the gut was saying, I think this is the calling, this is what I need to do. And that personality and mindset shift was not overnight. It was a lot of conditioning. You had to put the reps in with reading the right stuff, following the right people on social media, and kind of understanding if your decision is the right decision or not. You've made it at that point, but and Matt Wilbur says this, sometimes decisions are made and you got to play along with it, right? It might not be the best decision you made, but you got to make it work for you.
Yeah.
So that's what, moving things online, I made it work for me. That lease, I didn't chase the landlord. Another location coming up, a lot closer from where I work, a lot closer from where I live, that happened. And then looking at the positives. So one thing that happened in COVID was, so I was going into work every day before COVID, but then work from home kicked in.
Yeah.
And so I was working from the gym. When I got my space and all the work was happening, the build out and everything, I was working from the gym.
Yeah, so to interject here, and this is your story, which we're kind of going to anchor and culminate to, is like the first couple of years you're working, still at your corporate job in this case, had some flexibility actually being able to work from home. So that probably was an advantage there.
Exactly.
But you kept that base for a couple years.
I did.
And I know you're going to, kind of leading us through, but really I want to kind of hear what that, the big aha moment was. What was the decision that really adjusted and really allow you to move away completely from your corporate career and go full in on fitness?
Yeah. So, again, during COVID, there were many signs that said you continue, and there were many signs that said you don't continue. It was that mindset shift, that personality shift that I had to make to look for the signs that say you can go ahead with this, right? You continue with this. Work from home was a big thing. And then gyms opening up gradually with 6 feet of space and all that was a big thing. I would say the Fit Body community helped me a lot.
Yeah,
The onboarding that you guys did helped me a lot with getting into the mindset. The training that you guys provided helped me a lot in thinking like an entrepreneur, thinking like you are gonna be in this fitness business.
Because it's a different mindset.
100%. And all this while, I've never owned a business.
Yeah.
Forget owning a business. I've never had a business that has a physical location, So until October 2020. So the fixed costs and all those things, that MBA class comes in terms of accounting and everything. You got a fixed cost. You got in order to break even, you got to hit this much number, right? All that. And I was really getting into the details of that and trying to hit that number. I'm like, okay, this is my break even point and all of that kind of stuff. So what I'm trying to get to is there were signs that were saying you will be successful over here. And there were signs that always came to you and said, there are roadblocks or hurdles that said, hey, turn back, right? But navigating around those roadblocks, and you always say that, Bedros always says that, they are inevitable. It's about, how you overcome that, right? Obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way. The detour, my friend, is the path.
Exactly, yeah. So I had to embrace that because until then I'm living a very soft, comfortable life where hardship comes my way and I get very uncomfortable. So I had to start getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable. And that is where I would say fitness helped me. For all these years, the one thing that stayed consistent, that was the cornerstone, was me being consistent in the gym.
You and your own fitness.
My own fitness.
Amen.
Yeah. And calling onto that intentional pain physically. That's what fitness is, right? If you are comfortable working out, you're not doing much. Yeah, you might be doing a little bit, but calling on that intentional pain on yourself physically trains you mentally. Brain is a muscle. So that helped me a lot, along with all the resources that I had access to in continuing with the gym, putting my head down and working, knowing that I'm going to have 80-hour weeks, knowing that I'm probably going to live most of the days out of the gym, knowing I have a family back home that's going to miss me, and I'm going to miss them. And a lot of load is going to go on Aarti. Knowing all of that, still continuing with it, took a lot of conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
And what I was trying to say is, there's a great support system, but then also because they are doing something else, they are living a, I would say, good life, great life. You kind of become a victim of FOMO. Boys' night out, I'm missing out, right? All my friends are going out, watching a game at a bar, I'm missing out on that. Trips that they might have made because, hey, I'm running a gym, I cannot just shut it down and go for...
You just launched a new business. And
yeah,
they need you.
Yeah.
It's a baby.
So, exactly. And so all those things, the FOMO started kicking in. But again, you had to condition yourself to pick the right FOMO. You can sulk with that FOMO and say, you know what, I'm feeling bad about it. Or the FOMO of, there are successful gym owners. I want to experience that FOMO. I'm missing out on running a successful gym. And I had to really channel my FOMO to move in the right direction. Otherwise, you could easily get, off the path with the wrong FOMO. So that mindset shift, personality shift required a lot of work. Something that no one in my family has done, something no one that I personally know in my friend circles have done. So reading a lot, I picked up books. I was on pretty much every Fit Body call. I was in a silent mode because, again, I didn't know if I was in the right group. I felt I was a misfit. So I didn't know if I was in the right group. My first conference in Arizona, I was hiding in a corner. I was literally hiding in a corner. And I'm like, man, look at all these jacked people. Look at all these successful people. Do I even deserve to be here?
Well, I'm so glad you shared that because in last conference, our founder, my business partner, Bedros Koulian, shouts you out and acknowledges you for the figure out mentality that you had to be able to navigate a really challenging situation, to get to World Conference. You didn't even sleep.
Yeah.
So how funny things go full circle. You're sitting in a corner hiding the first World Conference, and a couple World Conferences later, our founders singing your praises on the main stage.
That was an amazing moment. Oh my God. I didn't expect that. And thank you, Bryce, for sharing that with Bedros.
That's cool.
But I really appreciate that acknowledgement in front of so many other Fit Body owners and successful folks. So I was hiding in my first conference because I'm still not evolved, not confident as a business owner, as a fit body owner, because my personality is still stuck with I'm supposed to be a 9 to 5 guy, right? This is a side business.
Yeah, it's the identity.
Not my main business. Yeah. But after that conference, I think I joined Mastermind immediately. And in October, we had our Mastermind in, I think, Austin, Texas. I think it was 2021.
It was October 2021.
2021.
And I'll interject here real quick. And if you're watching this and you're thinking there's a different background than you normally have, it's because, speaking of Mastermind, we are here at Miami, Florida, at our first of 3 in-person Mastermind workshops, which our Mastermind is a leadership coaching group, provide extra coaching, extra mindset, and leadership coaching. So
Aarti and I were together at that Mastermind, and Matt Wilbury spoke, you spoke, Bedros gave a talk over there. And there was one thing that he said was pretty, it touched the heart pretty close, pretty deep, I would say. At that time, I think in the conference, it was announced that you were the CEO, and he was transitioning to another calling. Yep. He said that there is a calling where he wants to develop, I think, the entire, the MDK project, and he was focusing on, because the calling, his true calling was, he wanted to build men and get them ready for the world, and that entire thing, which made me think when I went back home that there is a true calling somewhere for me, which is I have to change lives. I've been good as a trainer. There's something in me that I feel my calling is I need to make an impact in the community and change lives, because there are so many out there who are suffering in silence, who don't know what to do in fitness. I went through that for a big chunk of my life in my fitness journey, not knowing what to do. And I wanted to condense that success path for people who are looking to lose weight, who are trying to come off meds, who are trying to change life around. Maybe they had a pretty big life-changing event, right? And they are trying to change their life around through fitness. And I felt that my calling was, I want to instill fitness in their life in such a way that their life changes around. And that 2021 Mastermind really changed things around for me. It was a very pivotal moment for me. And there was another thing that he said over there, which was something that I live by, is like, do something that is so close to your heart. Do something that is so close to your heart that you're willing to do it for free, right? And I'm like, I can coach for free. I know I have to pay rent, I have to get food on the table or something, but I can coach for free. I can run Fit Body. If I had the option, I would not charge anyone, but you got bills to pay and everything, and at the end of the day, there is a business model to it.
But really what you're saying, I mean, economics are important, business model is important, but forget about that and just do something you're freaking passionate about.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, everyth's going to work out. The opposite is also true. You can have, the best business model, but if you freaking hate it, if you hate every second of your life, that's not success either.
You're not going to be successful because you're living a two-faced life, right? Authenticity is not there. You're not honest to what you're doing, and you're going to fall flat on your face. Absolutely. So coming back to, how I realized that I think this is for me. I need to get into coaching. I need to take it more seriously. Just because I am breaking even with Fit Body and I have a paycheck coming in, I shouldn't get comfortable with that entire setup. I got to look at growing Fit Body. And then I went, I was joining the mastermind calls. I was learning from the successful people who, many like CJ, Tom, everyone running pretty awesome Fit Bodies. That what are they doing? You always say success leaves clues. What are they doing? And what can I learn from them? What can I follow? What footsteps can I fit into them? Because I had to be very decisive and very picky in that. I'll tell you why. Because I'm still at a job, right? So I cannot just go on a limb and just decide to do everything that they do. I had to use my time very selectively. So I had to pick what fit my schedule, what fit my bandwidth, because at the end of the day, everyone has 24 hours. So what worked for me, like CJ was amazing at client engagement. We know that. Tom is pretty good with numbers and sales, and he has good strategies, right? So I had to get on cap calls with them, right? Our amazing cap calls. I'm still guilty of not doing as many, but whatever I did, I made notes, and I'm like, I'm gonna drill this down and do that. So that is where I started making Fit Body something that I was I was serious about it. You know, you've invested money and everything, but now it's taken it to another level. And in 2022, thoughts of getting full-time into Fit Body were really becoming a very common thought. You know, discussing it with Aarti. But again, whenever it was discussed, yeah, we'll do it in 6 months or something.
We'll think about that sometime.
Yeah. Before it was not even happening, but now it had started entering our discussions. And we didn't even get into finances at that point. It was just like, yeah, we'll think about it. After my next bonus, you know, that kind of stuff. And in 2023, where I hit my lowest point in my life, I would say, there were a few things that happened in the corporate world, in the team that I was with, which I hit a pretty low point in my life, very low point. The summer of 2023 was one of the lowest points of my life. Few things happened where the integrity of what I was doing was challenged. And I felt when you know, 9 to 5 ended, Fit Body ended, when I go home and, you know, Aarti and I talk, and I felt like, we discussed, and I felt, am I spending my time and energy, which is the limited resource for everyone, in the right direction? I know this is my calling, but, you know, I'm still working full time. What if I pivot that time and energy towards coaching? What would be the impact of that? We knew that Fit Body would grow. But Aarti, this strong owl, she's like, I think it will be successful. Let's get into numbers. So in May of 2023, she comes and tells me, put an Excel together, find out what our expenses are, and do all of that. What is Fit Body getting us? You know, what are you bringing home?
Break everything down.
Break everything down.
Planning and projecting.
And I put the Excel together, and Saturday night, I remember around 5 p.m., we are sitting down, I take the Excel to her, and she looks at that, she tears it down. She rips it apart to the level that I was like, damn, those 4 hours, oh my gosh, I was scared. I'm like, she's asking questions that I don't have answers to. And those 4 hours, she's like, you know, we have discussed everything, come up with another Excel now and see if this is gonna work or not. And then we got to a deeper Excel, and we saw the numbers, we analyzed the numbers, and we made a decision that let's live the life for 2 months. Let's do a test drive for 2 months and see if living only on Fit Body is going to be, Fit Body income is going to be good for our life. You know, you got 2 kids at home, you got mortgage, you got car payments, and you got Xbox loving kids, arcade loving kids, right? Pizza night loving kids, and you know, they want to go on vacation. So we got to consider all of that, right? Are we compromising on the wrong thing, or should I just shut up my, you know, sad story and continue doing the 9 to 5 job and Fit Body, right? Now, luckily, Aarti has a very stable job, and as I said, she's very career-oriented. She's pretty high up, so pretty solid. So we're like, let's live off your salary and what Fit Body is bringing us home. I'm not, I do have a profit at Fit Body at this time. It's not that I'm just breaking even, but is it enough?
Right.
And we lived that for 2 months. We trimmed all the fat in our expenses, you know, and made, I wouldn't say sacrifices, but made some lifestyle changes. And did we feel like we were compromising on things? Not at all. In 2 months, we realized that we were maybe overspending at that time. But right now, the way we are living, we're very happy. There's no compromise on kids. You know, both my kids are into martial arts. Not even one competition of theirs was missed because we didn't have enough money. Or anything like that. And Taekwondo is pretty expensive if you're competing. So at a national level. So right now my kid is going to fly out to Reno, Nevada in 2 weeks. The airfare is $950 for one kid.
Yeah, good on you, good on you both. But I see, I mean, the picture's all over. So it's definitely, it's a commitment.
So we kind of did that test drive for 2 months. And after 2 months, we, again, and of course, we were discussing, it was an ongoing discussion. You cannot just not discuss it, right? And for those 2 months, we discussed it, and we're like, I think we can do this. So then we decided on a date in September 2023, and that was it. Full-time fit body.
And in the grand scheme of things, by the time you transitioned out and we're shooting this conversation, it's just a very, very short few months.
Yep.
But high level, maybe if you can, share a bullet point or two, what's that transition like then?
Oh my gosh, huge, huge. I was very nervous when I was doing that. Again, it's a new phase of life because now your back is against the wall and you're 100% fit body. You don't have the leeway of, let me experiment or roll the dice with this initiative or that initiative where you're just maybe loosely spending $1,000, $1,500 or whatever. So big shift in looking at the numbers very closely. But I'm very glad to report that I think I was robbing myself of what potential I could bring to the mats, bring to my team at FitBody. And we've grown 25% since September.
In like 3 months.
Yeah, so 25%, which is a huge, because I had hit a wall.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm not growing any further. I don't know what's going on. 25% is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
And that was my experience too, Vik. And when I started my business in 2012, it took about 18 to 24 months where I was still doing moonlighting my sales gig before I jumped in. And certainly for the first 24 months, my business grew. But it wasn't until I decided to push out the other way, go all in, and then within 12 months, I saw exponential growth.
100%.
And you're on that path. So.
Yeah, results show where energy flows, absolutely, and my energy was flowing in the right direction. I was happier. I was content. And my kids and my wife have told me that we are seeing a new you, like a very different you who's confident, who is more content with things. And we are really seeing you evolve into a human being that we didn't know was inside you. So that was pretty, I would say, it's been a great transition. I don't know if it's luck or it's hard work or someone is watching out, somebody's looking out for me, but
how about all of it?
All of it, I would say, yeah. Blessings from parents, well-wishers. So it was amazing to see that transition. And Aarti just mentioned this over the weekend or a couple of weekends back. I've never questioned. I've questioned him. We were at a friend's place, and she told my friends that, I've questioned him that why didn't you do this before? Not why did you do this? Why didn't you do this before? And because she's seen a new me in me, and we are cruising along right now.
Vik, I love it, my brother. That is just awesome. And I'm really appreciative of the story, the background, the journey, the transformation that you're still on. And I appreciate your insight and your vulnerability. So
awesome. Thank you.
On that note, I want to put a bow on this part, but I still have a few minutes left with you on a transition and a lightning round if you're up for it.
Let's do it.
And then we'll finish out in good fashion. So very short, punchy, 60 seconds or less. Vik, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur to you?
Oof, 60 seconds. That's too short, but I'm going to try my best. I think being an entrepreneur is, I think, taking control. Taking control of what your true potential is and going towards your true calling, to me, is something that I feel as an entrepreneur. You have the opportunity to navigate the ship and make an impact. So seize that full control and take control and take ownership. You can make an impact.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Hero and enemy. Who is your biggest hero and who is your biggest enemy, Vik?
Biggest hero? Wow. There are so many, but based on my entire backstory right now, I have to say my wife. She is she really grounds me, and she really helps me with things. And I see her, how she's able to do so many things and yet not complain. I think that, I would say, is my biggest hero in my personal world. And in the professional world, man, I mean, I've got so many. I can't name one, but you are there. Bedros is there. All these guys. I look up to your posts. I look up to your videos, your reels. You guys really, really, motivate me, inspire me, and more importantly, I would say, I see how you guys do things, and that's where you guys are where you are. So I know if I want to be where you guys are, I have to do the same thing. So you guys really helped me with that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And enemy, I have to name that.
Yes.
It's me. My biggest enemy is me. Because I do doubt myself, and everyone does that, right? But sometimes I'm really hard on myself, and I'm like, damn, I could have done this better, different, whatever it is. But that also, changes the perspective. Don't make it look, change the window into a mirror. Look into yourself. What can you do better? And what could you have done differently and change? So I'm very harsh sometimes on myself, and I know that. And Aarti always tells me that, she's an ally. She's not a friend. She will tell me, you could have done this differently. You could have handled this differently for sure, but it's done. Move on. Right? So again, that's why she really helps me a lot with
Amazing partner.
Yeah.
I want to first and foremost thank you for the nice words. That means a lot. That means a lot coming from a guy like you. And then secondly, in terms of Aarti, and I never shared this with you, but something that I think really important in business is not only to get to know the people that you're working with, my business partner like you are, but I always look at the spouse, and I always take a deep look at the spouse, because the spouse actually will tell you the character of the person. And I remember meeting Aarti from the very beginning and thinking, man, she is amazing soul, and that means you are also amazing soul.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So that's probably one of the biggest compliments I can give you both.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. That's really sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of Aarti too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Last two questions, my friend. The last is a parting piece of wisdom. There's someone either watching this or listening to the audio that knows they're meant for something more. They're in transition, or they see a transition on the horizon, and there's a calling, there's a burning desire to live greater. But for whatever reason, there's that inner critic, that voice in the back of their head, dissuading them from taking that leap of faith to follow their passion. What would you say to that person?
There is no good time to start. Like we tell our clients, our members, our leads, our prospects, there is no good time to start. There will never be an ideal time to start. You have to, if you feel, I think Johnny Depp says this, if you fall in love with two people, pick the second, because you wouldn't have fallen in love with the second one if you didn't love the first one enough. So if you are feeling like you are in love, or you're split between two things, pick the second one, because you wouldn't have thought about the second one if you were like loving the first one so much. So same thing with work. Fit body was my second thing, then work. So I picked fit body because I wouldn't have thought about fit body if I loved my work so much, right? Now I did love it, but obviously there was something else. So if you feel the same way, go for it. There is a true calling hiding somewhere.
I love that. The great Johnny Depp looking at throwing gold. Yeah. And number one, it's a message to follow your passion, but it also does it in a very analytical way, because if you break that down
100%.
Logically, that makes a ton of sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Vik, my dude, this has been awesome. My last question for you, and the title of this podcast is the Fitness CEO Podcast, the Fitness Chief Executive Officer Podcast. Vik, from your perspective, what does it mean, being that you are a CEO? What does it mean to be a CEO?
When you're starting off new, you're going to be everything from the janitor to the CEO, like the owner. Be prepared for it. Be ready for it. Being a CEO, you cannot, the best way to say it is, don't lead by authority. You got to lead from passion. You got to lead from heart. You got to lead as if you are one of those down in the trenches doing the work. You've been there. You mentioned that, and you own a location right now, and you're the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. You got to do the work to know the work, and you cannot just step out from the work and say now, yeah, you have to delegate for sure, but you cannot just, lead by authority. You have to lead from passion. You have to lead from the heart. So to me, a successful CEO would be that. And in the fitness world, I do want to say, you guys mentioned this, and that was also a pretty big moment for me. Eye-opening moment is being in the fitness business. You got to understand and realize you are not in the fitness business. You are in the people's business. You are in the relationship business, and you got to establish that. Once you realize as a CEO that, you have to maintain the relationships. You cannot just say, I am not accessible because I'm the owner of the gym. don't come and talk to me, talk to my coach. I mean, that's the end of your business. That's the end of your business. So.
Amen. Yeah. Mic drop, my friend. That's the best way to finish. So, as we wrap today, before I wrap, I just want to take a second to acknowledge you, my friend. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last few years, befriending you, your amazing wife. And most importantly, it's the passion you show up with, your heart, your curiosity, your enthusiasm, and most of all, you're just a good human being that I'm blessed to call a friend. So
thank you very much.
Thank you for being on the show, but thank you for being who you are, my friend.
Thank you very much, and I do want to say on mic, on camera, that this guy is pure heart, pure gold, and pure passion, hard work. I mean, you really symbolize what, you know, a true leader is. So I really look up to you. Every time I'm meeting you, I get really excited because I want to take all your energy and, you know, give it back to my team, give it back to my members, give it back to my friends, my family, everyone, because I really look forward to meeting you every single time. So I am really honored to be on this seat right now. I know it's been shared by the greats. Yeah. A lot of big people over here.
Oh yeah.
And I was anxious and fearful, you know, that am I deserving of this seat? But this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Pleasure's mine. It was even better than I thought, and knew it was going to be awesome.
Thank you.
Vik, appreciate you. And family, I know you got a ton of value. My one ask is if you got value from this, like this and share this with a friend. That would mean a lot to us. And remember that no one is coming to save you. You must save yourself, and the time is now. Vik, appreciate you, buddy, and we'll see you in the next episode.